try to fight for camera time and talk all the time. It doesn't bother me that people say you're scared of her. Of course I'm not scared of her. How could I protect her if I'm scared of her? What it is I have respect for her, and I don't get a kick out of disrespecting or embarrassing my wife in front of people. She talks more than I do. She's gonna say things that I don't or wouldn't say. So she's gonna say stuff. I don't have to have her come back. I'm cool with where I'm.
It didn't start with a scream. It didn't start with a confrontation. It started with something far more unsettling, a response. A calm, measured response that nobody expected. Because by the time Dr. Damon Kimes finally spoke, the rumors had already spread like wildfire. Social media was on fire. Blogs were dissecting every detail. Fans were choosing sides without even knowing the full story. And at the center of it all stood Dr. Heavenly Kimes, a woman known for her bold voice, her fearless opinions, and her unshakable confidence. But this time felt different. Because this time, the noise wasn't coming from outsiders. It was coming from inside her own world.
When somebody got to be, okay, because I surely am not. Opposites attract, ain't that right, Daddy? That's why I like Dr. Damon, because he cool and calm and relaxed. You know, if we get a little frazzled, a hurricane come in, he just calm seas that cool over the hurricane, okay? You need a calm man. If you know what I mean? If your man ain't calm, somebody need to be calm.
When Damon finally responded, people expected denial. They expected anger, maybe even a defensive tone. But what they got instead was something that made everything even more complicated. Because his words didn't shut the rumors down, they gave them life. And Heavenly's reaction? That's what truly left fans stunned. Because for the first time in a long time, she didn't take control of the narrative. She let it breathe. And that silence spoke louder than anything she could have said. But to understand why this moment hit so hard, you have to go back, way before the rumors, before the whispers, before the tension started showing in ways nobody could fully explain.
Say I hit my man in the head with a pan.
Who said that? Who said that? One of your friends?
Greg's new wife.
Did you hit your man in the head with a pan? Let's start there. Have you ever hit your man in the head with a pan?
Let me clarify.
Please.
My marriage is perfect.
Yeah.
It's perfect, so why would I? Did I answer your question?
Why would you hit your man?
Yeah, right. Well, my marriage is perfect.
Correct. Even though we know there are no perfect marriages.
Because their story didn't begin in chaos, it began in love. Long before cameras followed their lives, before reality TV turned private moments into public conversations, Damon and Heavenly built something that looked solid from the outside. They weren't just a couple who smiled for the cameras, they were a team. They worked side by side, building careers, raising a family, navigating life's pressures together. Their connection felt rooted in something deeper than surface-level attraction. It was built on years of shared experiences, challenges, and victories that only they truly understood. Heavenly often spoke about her marriage like it was her safe place. She didn't just love Damon, she trusted him. And not the kind of trust people say just to sound confident. The kind of trust where you genuinely believe the person you're with would never hurt you in a way that breaks your spirit. She would laugh, joke, and even argue with others on screen. And suddenly, everything started to look different. Then came the turning point. Someone claimed there was more to the story, not just speculation, not just guesses, but actual details. And once that narrative hit the internet, everything changed. Because now it wasn't just about whether something happened, it was about how long it had been happening.
When my wife says you're a cheater, doesn't have anything to do with your profession.
She doesn't know me. You
doesn't
do.
have anything to do with your pocket.
She doesn't know me.
But he could say the same thing about you, not stepping up to him about him being respected in the medical community.
Stepping up to him. Oh.
But no, like you know his character.
That's when all eyes turned to Damon. People wanted answers, not assumptions, not theories, the truth. And when he finally spoke, the entire situation shifted in a way nobody expected. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't rush to defend himself. He didn't even try to shut everything down immediately. Instead, he spoke with a calmness that felt almost too controlled for the situation. He acknowledged the noise. He addressed the speculation. But what stood out the most wasn't what he said.
Really is the foundation for everything you got, right?
Live longer. You gonna say that?
It is.
You know, God's the foundation for everything we got.
So, Daddy, I'm gonna put you on the spot here. What do you think about people saying you need to check me? They saying you need to check me, baby. What's up with that?
I do.
Check you don't check
They
me.
just
Check.
don't understand our language.
Right, but check me ain't no man's language. We don't check each other. We talk to each other, right?
Just talk. If you're saying something I don't like, you know it. I'm not gonna try to embarrass
You talking
you
about the
for
stuff
anybody.
I say on the show, though. You don't need to
Not
check
gonna
me.
embarrass you
To
for
me,
it.
most of that stuff is funny, though. If y'all look for it and what it is, it's just really fun and funny until it ain't. But God is good, baby. Anything else you want to?
It was how he said it. There was no panic, no urgency, just a steady tone that left people questioning everything. Because sometimes when someone responds too calmly in the middle of chaos, it doesn't bring peace, it creates more questions. Fans started analyzing every word, every pause, every choice of phrasing. Some believed he was being honest. Others felt like he was carefully navigating the situation without revealing too much. And then came the moment that truly changed everything. He didn't completely deny the possibility of mistakes. He didn't fully confirm anything either. He stayed somewhere in between. And that space, that's where the tension exploded. Because people don't know how to react to uncertainty. They either want a clear yes or a clear no. But Damon gave them something else, something that left room for interpretation. And that's when the internet did what it always does. It filled in the blanks. Suddenly, new claims started surfacing. People who had never spoken before began hinting at knowing more than they were saying. Anonymous messages started circulating. Screenshots, unverified but convincing, began making their rounds. And just like that, the story became bigger than anyone expected. But here's what nobody saw coming. Heavenly didn't respond the way people thought she would. No explosive live sessions, no dragging, no emotional outbursts. And that's exactly what this looked like. A woman taking a step back, not to avoid the situation, but to face it in her own way. Behind the scenes, people close to them started hinting that conversations were happening. Real conversations. Not for the cameras, not for public opinion, but for clarity, for truth, for whatever came next. And Damon? He remained consistent in his approach. Calm, measured, careful. But even that started to feel like part of the mystery. Because the more controlled his responses were, the more people wondered what wasn't being said. And that's where things became even more complicated. Because now, it wasn't just about what happened, it was about perception, about how people interpreted every move, every word, every moment of silence. And in a situation like this, perception can be just as powerful as reality. For Heavenly, the emotional toll became impossible to ignore. This wasn't just a storyline. This was her life, her marriage, her foundation. Everything she had spoken so confidently about was now being questioned, not just by others, but possibly by herself. And that's a different kind of pain, the kind that doesn't show up in dramatic scenes. It shows up in quiet moments, in deep thoughts, in late nights where everything feels heavier than it should. Fans began to express sympathy in a way they hadn't before. Even people who once criticized her found themselves understanding her on a deeper level. Because no matter who you are, no matter how strong you appear, dealing with uncertainty in a relationship hits the same. It shakes you. It forces you to reflect. It makes you question things you once felt sure about. And now, Heavenly was standing in that space, not as a personality, not as a figure on a show, but as a woman navigating something real. And that's what made this moment so powerful. Because it stripped away the performance. It revealed something raw, something honest, something human. As time went on, the noise didn't completely fade. If anything, it continued to evolve. New theories, new assumptions, new conversations. But through it all, one thing remained clear. This story wasn't finished. Because no matter what Damon said, no matter how Heavenly reacted, there were still unanswered questions lingering in the air, and people could feel it. They could sense that there was more beneath the surface, more that hadn't been said, more that hadn't been revealed. But maybe that's the point. Maybe not everything is meant to be understood immediately. Maybe some things take time to process, time to heal, time to decide what the next chapter looks like. Because at the end of the day, this isn't about rumors, it's about choices. The choice to stay, the choice to leave, the choice to rebuild, or the choice to walk away from something that once felt unbreakable. And right now, only Heavenly knows what that choice will be. What we do know is this: her silence isn't empty, it's full of meaning. Her calm isn't weakness, it's strength in a different form. And whatever happens next, it's going to change everything, not just for her, but for the way people see relationships that once looked untouchable. Because sometimes the strongest foundations are tested in the quietest moments, and sometimes the loudest stories are told without a single word. So now the world is watching, waiting, wondering, not just about what happened, but about what comes next.